Hello, Cyclocross friends, and thanks for tuning in to episode 334 of Cyclocross Radio. On this episode, Boedi is back. We're in the media pit. We're talking about the really rad festival of cyclocross that took place last weekend in Falmouth, Massachusetts, up in Cape Cod. It's the last race before the Pan American Championships that's happening this weekend in Missoula. Woo! It's been a long season so far in a very short time. But yeah, and it's all running together. But we're breaking down what happened in at Really Rad. We also get into a tiny little bit of Euro racing at the end of that. Got plenty of interviews for you. We'll get to it. Really not much more to say in this intro other than that, once again, we're brought to you by Hammerhead and the Karoo, and our deal's still going on. It's basically, if you go to hammerhead.io, you pick out the the Karoo computer, put that into your basket, add the heart rate monitor to your basket as well, put in the code CXRadio, CXRADIO. You're going to get that heart rate monitor on us for free, gratis. Compliments of the wide angle podium. Hammerhead.io, add the Karoo and the heart rate monitor to your basket. Use the code CXRadio, CXRADIO, and you're going to get that heart rate monitor on us. All right. It's episode 334 of Cyclocross Radio. It's Boedi and myself. We're talking about everything that happened at Really Rad Festival of Cyclocross, and we're doing it right now. All right, here we are, back in the media pit. I'm back from, where was I? Cape Cod. Boedi, you're back from the West Coast.
Yeah.
Vacation. How was vacation?
Vacation was great. I spent a lot of time in the Columbia River Gorge, and it's a beautiful part of Oregon that, as someone who grew up in Oregon, did not spend a lot of time in. And I got to say, you should go. It was like optimal leaf peeping, like time of the year. And like, apparently leaf peeping, that phrase was completely foreign to my brother, who was like, what are you talking about, leaf peeping? This is the thing. People go look at leaves. I'm like, yes, this is the whole, yeah. Where have you been? I guess sometimes when you grow up in Oregon, you just don't think about these things. Anyway, vacation was good. It was nice to see my family and to not think about anything work related. But this weekend I was, seeing the coverage at Really Rad and getting that FOMO because I've been there. I know the venue, and I was seeing the Tom Parsons footage, and I was like, all right, I know where that turn is. I know what's going on. And I don't know. Yeah, I'm sad to have missed it. But Bill, how was the weekend?
Well, good leaf peeping up there as well.
It looked like it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nice. I feel like things are changing a little later, so still up there, kind of in optimal autumnal surroundings, which was nice. But yeah, I mean, Really Rad's really rad. I think that they kind of have dialed in the track from the year that you were up there for Pan Ams, and they change a little bit from day one to day two, but it's just kind of like rerouting a couple of the stuff up top near the barns, but really pretty much the same course. It's fast. It's a lot of good power sections. You have the sand that's a factor. The planks can kind of be a factor, but they're both like really early in the lap. And then you just, it's kind of like what we've been talking about all year long, where the courses get slippery because it's so dry.
Right. And that's what I saw. I wanted to bring that up. Like it was really dusty. I feel like when I was there 2 years ago, it might have been a little more damp, a little more moisture, a little more almost like hero dirt. There might have been some wet spots, but like it just looked brutal. I mean, like just the photos you had, like backlit by the sand and the barriers, like just dust clouds. And I was watching some of the Dirt Wire highlights, and just the turns looked very slippery, very slippery. Yeah.
And that played played into these races. And I think there were definitely racers out there that had issues with it, just little bobbles, but that sort of gets you. You lose a second or two here and there on such a fast course, and that's kind of it. And then I think the other thing to note is that there was some wind, so pack racing did actually come into play a little bit and could help. And yeah, and that's kind of it. Other than that, it's everything that we know. The wild thing about this track is that it has a really nice start and finishing straight. Like, it's long. There's a lot of room to sprint on, but it's still like come out first and you win. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. I've
How many? So because I didn't, we weren't able to watch the race. How many were there? Any riders that two came to the start finish and there was a sprint, or was it mostly solo all weekend?
I know in the junior race, like the junior women, for instance, day one and day two, it was Raphael Carrier and Alyssa Sarkisov on both days, and it really, I think Alyssa thought that she could just be on Raphael's wheel and it would be fine. And when they sprinted at the end, and it wasn't the case, and she could just never come around her. And Raphael took the win on day one, and then day two, it was kind of funny because both of them sort of knew the playbook. And I have never seen a cyclocross race where they get to the pits and are basically track standing.
Oh, wow.
Because neither of them wanted to go in front for the second half. This started like with 2 to go, and they did it both laps, and it was just a standoff. And Alyssa kind of got the spot she wanted and was able to get on Carrier's get ahead at the right time, going through the woods at the end, was able to just attack and defend through there, came out with a bike length on day two and was able to, hold off Carrier, which is a nice win. So that's the one that sticks out. It was just those two going at it for those 2 days was a really fun battle to watch.
Yeah, well, good on Alyssa for taking that win over Raphael. I mean, she's been sort of, when she shows up at these races, I mean, she's
number one racer in the world right now.
Right. So she's gone 3 for 3, and then the sprint against Alyssa, she lost. So yeah, she's been the rider to beat when she shows up. So good on Alyssa for taking one. Yeah,
and that we're looking forward to Pan Ams. That's going to be a fun one to watch for that Pan Am battle as well.
I was getting ready for the show, I was thinking about how the season, it's like how we can like divide the season. That we kind of talked about this earlier. Like I was like, all right, USCX is obviously the first part of the season. That's what we had, and then in Inglewood it was the prologue. We'll call it the prologue, not preseason because it counted. It was a prologue, and then we have this part of the season now where we kind of talked about like maybe new riders will come to the fore as other riders take breaks or people go back to Europe, and we'll have different victors, which we've had. And then I was like, okay, what is this next part? And I almost want to give credit to Raylan Nuss for calling it the championship season, which is from Pan Ams to Nationals. Like, I like that as sort of the ender of the domestic season. Like we've got Pan Ams coming up next week. We've got Nash Dash, and then we've got the North Carolina race and then Nationals. So, I guess we have Thanksgiving and then NoHo, not a UCI race in between. But yeah, the champion, we are approaching Jersey winning season, and you got me excited just thinking about like what's happened at Pan Am's this weekend, because this year I was able to watch all those junior races, and now I know who these riders are, and I'm like, okay, who's gonna take it? And you lit a little fire in me, Bill. Okay, so day one, women's race.
You watched Tom's highlights.
I watched Tom's 90 second highlights. He got them out pretty fast. I respect him not doing a full edit, staying up all night, and like
we talked about that. He's like, I can't do that anymore. And I was I completely understand that.
Exactly. I was thinking he's like, I'm going to do this, come out Monday. I was like, cool, man. I get it. Like, I want to watch the full highlights, but good on you. Okay. So day one, women, it seems like fast start by Katie Klaus. Thinks she gets a whole shot to the barriers. At some point, Mags and Klaus are together. I don't know how, but Mags goes solo. Manny is chasing with Lizzie in the third position. At some point, Manny drops to Lizzie. Then Manny catches up to Klaus. Klaus drops Manny in the sand. And then they all roll in 1, 2, 3, Mags, Klaus, Manny. How accurate was that?
I think that's about right. You know,
Okay.
I think it's one of these things where Magali is kind of the Magali we know from past seasons. She's kind of back in that form, back able just to dictate the race how she wants to, and wanted to go out fast and just set her pace.
Take me home, yeah.
Oh my god! And they said over the loudspeaker that you weren't a musician.
That's what they said?
They were like, you wanted to be a songwriter.
That is true.
But you didn't play anything.
No, I just think I admire a lot of people who write songwriters, because they have such a good way, like impressive way of saying a lot with very little words, and on top of that they make it rhyme and sound clever. It's just a lot of admiration for them.
Here's where I would tie it into what you do. A lot of times people write songs and they have a meaning of what's going on in their head in the song, and then everybody else comes up with their own meaning of what's going on. Much like you're feeling one thing when you're racing and you're thinking, I'm doing this, and then other people come up to you and go, oh, when you did that, and you're like, I didn't think I did that, or that's not what I was thinking when I was racing.
That is so true.
It's all open to interpretation.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good way of putting it all together. I agree.
So interpret.
Do you want me to interpret today?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I knew that the sand was the key section to try to make a difference today, and so on the second lap I decided I wanted to ride it first, and so that's what I did, and I hit it pretty good, and I just knew that I didn't actually know if I had a gap or not, but I decided that I would punch it at the end of it, and I looked in my shadow here that I couldn't see the other shadows. So I said, just commit, just like try it. And so I pushed it for a lap and a half, kind of full gas, to see if I could keep up with my gap, and it worked. And after that, I just said, like, I'm just gonna keep pushing as much as I can, and yeah, it was good. Yeah, so that's all it takes sometimes. Just that first feature. I was lucky that it was early in the lap, and then you were set. Yeah, and to be honest, like, to go back to what you said, like, some people see something or you think something and then something else happened. I wasn't necessarily planning on going that early. It's early, the beginning of the second lap, that was not even 10 minutes in. But I told myself I would commit and try. And so, that wasn't necessarily the plan, but I went for it and it worked out. So, yeah. Awesome. Tom, anything else? Yeah, I think you covered it. All right. Thanks, Max. Thank you, guys.
How poetic you two are. With Guns N' Roses in the background.
I know. Well, by the time this is actually, since we're putting these on YouTube, we can say that she was singing along to Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses may not appear on the. We're going to try to have to isolate that out, possibly.
Yeah. Matt, I always like that Magali is like, I thought I would try something, and she's a gamer. She's like, she's always looking at the race like, okay. Maybe before earlier in the season, the fitness wasn't there. She was coming back. Now it kind of seems like the confidence is high, the fitness is there. It's like, okay, well, I got to try some new things. I got to sort of keep sharpening, the blade and keep it up. And so that kind of sounds like what she did lap 2. Let me give it an effort and see if I can hold it off. I also love the looking for the shadows thing. Classic bike racing thing, even like in crits at night races, looking for the shadows of the riders behind you. So just a fun little element. I'm glad she used. Yeah, for sure. And it's nice because it's so you got the sun behind you there for that sand pit. So big long shadows by the time they're out there. And you touch on something with Mags kind of trying new things in the races. And actually, when we talk about day 2, I do ask her about that, because that was her thing. When she came into the and again, she talked about it before when we talked to her at Trek and stuff, just about struggling at the beginning of the season to find her form. When she would come into the form flying, she
really, again, she always couched this with it's not trying to be disrespectful to anybody, but she's using this as part of like, I want to win this race, but also there are some training, boxes I can check off in this as well, and sort of racing it like it's a World Cup, like it's a European race. You talk to Strohmeyer, he'll say the same thing. He's like, it's important, it's not to discount anybody out here, and we're going to have races, and he has, but at the same time, I want to race this the way I'm going to be racing against the top riders in the world. So that's kind of, and as I said, we get into that a little in day 2, but these on the women's side, it was fun to watch the racing, but they both days kind of played out the same. Katie Klaus, and we'll talk about this just with how she's progressing and is just the women's field overall. Katie Klaus right now, strongest women racer that in the country, and she is getting better week to week. And I feel like almost a broken record talking to her, because that's the conversation we have, but she's able to use Rochette as kind of this gauge for how she's going, and I think still steps in the right direction. So let's listen to her. All right, Katie. Another race with Mags.
Yeah.
Another race kind of on that wheel. Just
yeah.
Talk me through this from last week and then going into this week in this race.
Yeah. Well, last week, I mean, I felt like I could stay better, but this week Mags opened up a little bit in the sand section, so she just rode it super well, and she just opened up that gap second lap in, and I made a little bit of a mistake going into the sand second, but I mean, that's just how it goes. So so she just opened up that gap.
That's kind of what she was saying too. There's really nothing to report here. I had a good first lap and then just kind of held it from there. So I guess it's all we can do is look forward to tomorrow. And so is the game plan just you got to like kill that first lap?
Yeah. I mean, she just rode it really well, and I kind of didn't ride it very well the second lap. I think I got like better and get like better at the sand through the race, so that was good. But so when she just opened up that gap, I knew she was just gonna go, and I felt like I was like, maybe I can. Like the next lap, I was like, oh, I'm so close. But I just kind of like had a rough middle of the race, and then once Monty caught me and I kind of sat there, I like kind of regrouped, and then my last half was a little bit better. Yeah.
So you were riding the full sand, yeah?
Yeah.
So did you watch the men's race? Any of it?
The elite men?
Yeah.
No.
They were.
Well,
they
a little
were
bit over here.
But I was just curious because they all dismounted.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were
the first lap.
Every lap. Like Strohmeyer was off the bike a good 3 seconds into the sand.
Whoa, interesting.
But I don't know if it changed. Maybe y'all are just stronger.
Very interesting. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I felt like for me, I try and ride as much as I can because I don't want to waste a ton of energy running. And I was gapping Monty. That's where I would get most of my time on Monty the rest of the race. So I felt like riding it for me was better, but that's interesting. Maybe something I could pull up tomorrow.
There it is. So tomorrow. All right. Well, nobody will see this till then. All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, the women riding the sand, not the men. Interesting.
Some of the men. So I think that was dictated, and we'll, when we get to the men's race, we'll hear about more of it. But it was dictated really by Strohmeyer, and if he's in that line and he's off and running, then you just have to sort of ride around him. Which, I mean, Bruno was riding it, others were riding it, but I think once that front kind of dismounts, everybody's coming in and doing the same. And I asked him about it, but I just thought it was interesting. Yeah, the women were like, we're staying on our bikes, and the men were kind of playing it by ear, and a lot of them dismounting and running through it. It was interesting too. It's like, just with, and I think it's a good thing, but Klaus just being able to regroup. She said when Manny caught her, and then that kind of gave her almost another carrot there, just to stick to, and go after and sort of get her win back, and then be able to take Carolyn to the line and beat her.
Do you think? I mean, I don't know. I guess we haven't. I don't know if you talked to her about it, but do you think she's already thinking about nationals? Is she looking at
Katie's?
Yeah, like sort of where, like we talked about this, like you look at the results at the USA on CX24, and there's not a single person with an American flag next to her name who's won a race. And Katie Klaus is always the next rider. So I'm just curious if she's looking at that and thinking like, no, I guess like if you have that goal and you're like, oh, it's achievable this year. Like, is there pressure? Is she excited? I don't know. I have to ask her.
I asked her last week at Kings, straight up, and she said that, yeah, it's definitely a goal. And I think that she's by and far the favorite right now. It's one of the reasons that I keep, which we'll hear when I talk to Lizzie Gonzalez again. I keep trying to just nudge her into racing elites, which, I mean, she's still U23. She has every right to go and race U23.
We got to nudge Lauren.
Yeah. But I think that could be a good battle. I mean, of course, we can just fall back on our tried and true anything can happen at nationals, but coming into it right now, Katie Klaus definitely looking like the strongest women in the U.S. field.
Oh, speaking about strong women, Monty out there, doing it.
It's I in your head right now. I was in your head right now. Just kind of construct the Carolyn Manny interview, and then we'll see if it plays out that way.
These kids working all week.
All right, Carolyn. I asked you before about what was going on with Cincy because you ended that race early, and then but I never got a chance to talk to you. But just from starting from there and then coming in today and this race.
First of all, I broke my rule. I'm allowed 1 DNF, and I have 2 DNF this year, so I better get my crap together. Just since it was just rough on me, like just back problem. I don't really have back problems, so it's like, I broke my back in the days when I was younger, but I've been pretty lucky touching monkeys. Not like all the young ones are like, oh, my back hurts, so I've been pretty good, but I think I'm lacking on like strengths or whatever. I don't know what happened, too much driving, but it just ceased, and I was like starting to have a little bit of a sciatic, and I was like, ooh, not good. So I took care of myself this weekend for once, this week.
And you kind of looked like yourself before, in the first couple of weeks of the season. Back at it. Talk to me about this race. Mags had a great start.
Yeah, gosh, this start's so strong, and I think she knows that you have to put the pressure right away. They really get at starting and just exploding the field, and that's what I would do if I could. I just struggle to stay in the wheel, so I tried as best as possible. I came back to Katie at some point, and I messed up in the sand a little bit, so then I got gapped again and I couldn't close it. So she rode really well. I think the two in front of me were stronger today, but I'm super happy with third. I felt like a lot of things happened this week, but I'll talk about it another time. But it's just I needed a little kick in the ass. Let's put it that way. I think I just need a little refresh, and there's a lot of things that's going to happen in the next few months. I may have fell in my head, but who knows?
Yeah. All right. They're calling you for podium. So really quick, just one more question. And we talked earlier this year just about, in years past, you were a really good second day racer, and this year it's been a little more of a struggle on day 2. So were you, when you knew that you had third place sort of wrapped up, were you thinking about tomorrow at all?
Yeah. It's now I have in mind you've seen me racing for a long time. I would just give everything that I have to just close the gap, but I'm like, oh gosh, you should just chill out a little bit. I also rode way more after, this weekend is a little more chill, so hopefully my legs are moving around, but I'm trying to do all the things properly and be a little more bike racer than all the things, so hopefully it pays off.
Awesome, thanks. Let's get you to the podium.
No, I'm gonna get in trouble, dude.
That's too much driving. Now my back is thrown out, and got a lot of work. Love it. I feel like Caroline Monty gets older, and I feel like I'm becoming a bigger and bigger fan because I can just relate to her more. Obviously not the high level racing, but just the creaking bones and the damn young kids.
But she's also adapting. and she's figuring out how to,
Yeah.
we talked about it before, just being better racecraft in there and not, save her energy, knows that she can't really go out as strong and has to just kind of work back into the races. And then that's kind of what I asked her about, just kind of saving something for day 2, where before, she talked about like being upset that she DNF'd more than one race. Like, she's somebody who we know is never giving up ever. So just her ability to say, I'm not catching Katie Klaus at this point, and there's a couple laps to go. I think Lizzie Gonzalez is far enough behind me. Maybe I should just ride this one out and save something for tomorrow. So I think she's starting to think about those things too, and just kind of preserve and be able to continue to race.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. You get older, you also get smarter. So
talking about Gonzalez, good. Again, she's one who's working her way up, got 4th place on day 1 on Saturday. Raylan Nuss in the hunt behind her, along with Cassie Hickey, who we haven't seen at a cyclocross race, UCI race, at least this year. And really good race. I mean, that's, really nice result. 6th place in an elite race. I think last time she was racing cyclocross consistently, she wasn't racing in the elite races, I don't think. So
no, I would just say quick scrolls. Yeah, 22, 23, U23. I remember her as like, junior racer back at Jingle Cross. So yeah, no, it's good. I saw that in the results. I was like, oh, Cassie, all right. I haven't seen that name in a while. So yeah, I don't know what her plans are, but hopefully she continues racing on. Maybe she's just starting the season now, and we'll see her at Pan Am's. And
she's at Pan Am's. That U23, race is going to be really interesting. Lots of competition in there, based on who's showing up. As a crit and road follower in the U.S., did you notice how many CCB racers in this field?
So I didn't see all. Wait, I don't see all of them, but I know it's Lizzie and Cassie. Who else? Oh, Ella.
Yeah,
okay.
Ella. And then Natalie Quinn was in there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, CCB based
New
out
England.
of that. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But it was just kind of fun. It was fun seeing all those road kits in there.
Oh yeah, no, that's great. I was thinking U23. Are there going to be team tactics? Cassie and Lizzie and Ella. She's U23. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Anything else notable in the women's race on day 1? Not really.
No.
I think we could. Should we just? We'll just stick with the women's field, move over to day 2. Day 2, the biggest factor in these races was that the promoter and then also one of the sponsors, I believe it was the bike shop in that area that sponsors the race, and then Adam Sykes' organization is a event organization. Each of those put up $100 as a preem, and it was a first lap preem. So first one to cross the finish line on the beginning of lap 2 wins $100. They both the men and the women took it seriously. They were racing for that preem.
So did someone win it who then wasn't going to be at the front anyway? I'm always curious about that in a cross race.
No, but for the women, it really was Magali and Katie sprinting it out. Magali, it was almost like, let's see what the end of the race could look like. You were asking about if any sprints happened. This is where they happened. They came through the woods together. Mags was able to get out ahead, was able to put in a dig in her sprint. Katie wasn't able to close it down. And Magali took the $100, and much like the slow rides. Is it a Christmas? When did they do their American Flyers?
4th of July.
4th of July. Yeah. So, yeah, kind of like David Summers in American Flyers. Got the bonus, got the premium, just kept going. Just attacked right after that, and she just kept rolling. And that kind of like splintered the field right from the beginning. So, she talked about waiting until lap 2, or actually like putting in a good dig in the sand on lap 2. This on day 2 was kind of just over after lap 1.
So did Klaus go with her at all after that preem, or?
Yeah, they still stuck together. I think longer. I think it was almost until lap 4, maybe, that Rochette was able to get away. So definitely they were together more, but both of them, kind of separated right away from the rest of the field.
That's what it looked like from the highlights. It
looked like, well, actually, Lizzie was with them too. That's the change on this one. Lizzie was able to kind of get up there and be with that lead group and stick in there, at least for that first lap. Fell off a little for lap 2. And then it was her and Maddie again. So it was kind of a replay of what we saw on day 1. It was,
it looked like Lauren was in there too a little bit. There was a kind of maybe a group of 3 or 4 chasing the leaders.
Yeah. They were, so I think they were a little, Lauren was up there at first, and then I think, dropping back by like lap 2 or 3 there. They definitely had a good group that was chasing behind with Lauren. I think Raylan, maybe Cassie was in there as well. Yeah. But so I don't know. Let's just let Mags talk to us about it.
Okay.
Sorry.
First race we had in a while with a preem.
Yeah.
First lap preem. Did you know that?
They told us at the start, and I was like, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
I mean, so cool. We should have that more often. That's like that makes it spicy. I love it.
Yeah. So it was $100 for first one to finish one complete lap. So
Yep.
over the line first time. After lap 1, you it was almost like a practice for if it was a close race at the finish.
You know what? Actually, like, I thought about it after crossing the finish line to get that preem. I was like, okay, I know how to win this race now. Because I noticed, like, I pinned it on the first lap just to like put everyone kind of in the red, myself included, but I wanted to get first into the sandy section to hit the pavement first. And I noticed there, like right away, I got a gap in the sandy section. So I'm like, okay, like if it comes to the last lap, I can do the same thing and I'm good to go. So yeah, $100. Dinner's on me.
Absolutely. All right, we'll be there. So in the past, when we've talked to races like this, you were doing full-time cyclocross, you would come out here and you were super strong. No disrespect to the rest of the field, you were stronger than the field, and you would sort of plan your races to how you were going to race in Europe or what you were going to plan to do. Any of that today?
A little bit, but more in a sense like I wanted to. Yes, there was one thing. The opportunity to follow wheels at speed, like that's one thing that you get in racing that when I'm training at home I don't have. And so actually Katie Klaus has been riding super strong and she takes pretty aggressive lines technically. So I wanted to practice riding with her, be able to follow closely because that's not my strength. So that was one thing that if it came to that, I wanted to make the most of that. But other than that, I just wanted to work hard to like gain as much fitness as possible so that I can keep building up throughout the season. So, nothing specific. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to win. So first thing was like, okay, how do I play my cards right to try to take the win today? But also like, how do I make it as beneficial? How can I leave this race a better rider, a better racer? So like, that's like kind of always the thinking, I think.
Awesome. What's next?
What's next? Nationals. I haven't been to nationals in years, so I'm really excited for that. That's in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really, really excited for that, and I'm going to be preparing for it. Awesome. And after that, Europe.
Great.
So, yeah. Thanks, guys.
Wait, is she not going to Pan Am's?
She is not going to Pan Am's.
Oh, interesting.
So change your outlook for Pan Am's?
I admittedly hadn't thought too much about it. I just assumed that she was going and the way things should go and she would be winning. But yeah, so also, are we going to get surprise Holmgrens showing up?
I believe that may be a possibility, yes.
Okay, because I heard they're racing this weekend in Canada. And okay, well, that's intriguing. Also, love how hyped Magali was. I mean, she won a race and she won $100, so she's going to be happy. But always brings like a lot of good energy to the interviews.
Yeah, Oh yeah, no, she's always great to talk to. It's the challenge that we have found this year is to try to find a place that we can escape the
I
loudspeakers.
know. I was thinking, or the wind.
And
This
I feel like those speakers somehow shifted in the middle of that interview.
This is why, like, at the World Cups, they shuttle the riders to like some tent, that's sheltered, and there's not speakers in there blaring the PA music, someone's Spotify playlist. Yeah, but we heard it all. She
Yeah.
came through.
Yeah. Again, we're talking about this now, and hopefully by the time we're out there, little vocal isolation, and who knows if it will even be an issue. We did. I didn't talk to Katie day 2. I don't know. I kind of assumed it'd be the same conversation we
It's
had
tough.
the day before. It sounded
Yeah.
like she stuck with her more, but I think that, well, we'll give her a break until maybe there's something different to talk about. But I did catch up with Lizzie Gonzalez, who was able to be a factor in this race, and it was able to get third place. And this is another rider kind of similar to Katie that we've been talking to each week, and who is just getting better and better. So yeah, let's talk to Lizzie.
All right, Lizzie, I feel like we've been talking day 2s a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another one today, but Mags and Katie again. We talked about this in Cincinnati. They're the strongest out there right now. You're coming into this kind of as the newcomer on the scene. Starting a little later. Race today, do you feel like it's still step in the right direction?
I definitely feel as that is the case. Like, I feel like I'm finally getting my feet wet. I'm building my confidence, and a lot of the times racing cross, it's just feeling confident enough to go deep for 50 minutes. And I feel like this is the first season that I felt like my depth is really there. So it's really more just, am I willing to take the risk to try and figure out how to win these bike races now?
Mags takes off, goes for that preem because she needs that extra $100. What happens after that? What do you do to regroup and try to get back in it?
Yeah, I mean, I felt like I had a really, really good start. I felt my composure was there. And I knew that it was going to be really important to try and get into first or second wheel just to kind of show that I was there and not really have these gaps that I needed to close. And I think on the second or third lap, I reconnected with them. And as soon as I reconnected with them, I made a mistake. And then at that point, I was racing for third place with Lauren and Caroline. And we ended up getting pretty close to Mags and Katie a little bit later on. But there was at just some point in the race where I realized I was fighting for third place and just got my head into that race.
So, I mean, you got Magley up there, but she's Canadian. She's doing her own thing. I know I asked you last week. I'm just, you had a week to think about it. Just still U23 for nationals.
That is the plan. Yep. And I mean, we still have another month and a half until nationals, so we'll see how the rest of the season goes.
That's a good answer.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like she's becoming more receptive, Bill, to your persuasions.
I want to see that battle. This is nothing against the rest of the women who are going to show up for the elite nationals, but just what we've seen from this season so far. Those are the two who are kind of at the top that will be racing. I mean, as much as an American as Carolyn Manny is, she's still not an American citizen.
She won't
or
be
at
racing
least doesn't have a U.S. license.
Yeah, I guess she. Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I'm glad that Lizzie's getting that sort of like, it's like, okay, I can't like the sort of I can be there. Like now it's like, how do I win? Like that's sort of like, I feel like that's the next step, and that's good to hear from her. And she sounded pretty. Yeah, she sounded pretty confident. Like she's like getting the CX thing back. So that's awesome.
Yeah. All right. So what else do we have? Day 2, Lauren Zerner, 5th place. Raylan Nuss in there in 6th. Cassie Hickey dropped down one more to 7th on day 2. And let's move on over to the men's races. Got some stuff to talk about here.
Yeah. I mean, thinking about day 2, but we got day 1 in the way.
Mhm.
Here, let me tell you what I think happened.
Going on the Dirt Wire TV highlights.
Okay, I think Cody Scott got the whole shot. I think that's actually, it says that in the video. I think it was pretty much Stroh time. I feel like fairly early on, he went to the front and thinned it out. Brunner with him for a bit. And then I did look at the lap times. It seemed that Brunner was 7 seconds off the finish. And then at some point, Coot was back in a third group, Henry Coot, and he broke free. I don't have much for day 1 in the men's race. Sorry.
So day 1, yeah, Strohmeyer, I think if we're back to talking about plans, he kind of executed his plan how he wanted to. He did the first couple laps really hard, was able to keep the lead over Brunner from 5 to 7 seconds. Brunner was able to crawl his way back to Strohmeyer, so they were together, I think, halfway through the race. And then as soon as Brunner was able to get back to Strohmeyer's wheels, Strohmeyer just went again. He got that 5 to 7 seconds gap one more time, and then just was able to kind of hold on to that until the end. And that's that was really just the story of the race. I think that Andrew was in control of this one from tape to tape.
Have an interview with him?
I do have an interview with him. Should we listen to it?
Yeah.
All right,
Give me something more to go on.
All right, let's see it.
There it is.
Nice. All right, fast start again. Out
Yeah.
there, what? Pretty good gap there. First kind of half of the race, and then Brunner kind of started coming back to you. Was that him putting in good efforts? You sort of meeting out your efforts? What was going on?
Well, sorry. I'm a little tired.
Yeah.
No, so the plan today was just race like I would in Europe. The Euro races are a really big goal of mine for this year, and we only have a couple races here in the US left, and I want to use them to try to prepare for those races the best as I can. And so today it was, I was like, we're gonna go from the start, and these first 2 laps are gonna be as hard as possible, and then we'll see where everyone's at. And I was off the front, and Eric was maybe between 5 and 7 seconds behind me for the first 4 laps or something. And I was just holding it there, so I was just trying to keep that little gap as long as possible.
Yeah, and then so as soon as it seemed like he closed it down, you put another effort in, and then kind of like were able to snap it from there.
Yeah. So he closed it down, which I figured he would at some point. It's a power course and it's windy out here, but he closed it, and I knew he was hurting, and so I was like, all right, I'm not gonna let you rest. So as soon as he closed it, I kept accelerating out of corners and then hit the start-finish straight and just attacked really hard, and was able to open up the gap again over the barriers to get another 5 seconds. And he held it there for a while again, and then eventually, it opened up a little bit.
So watching the women's race, all the front runners and the women absolutely crushing the sand, riding the whole thing. You made the decision to run it. What was that based on?
Yeah, I've been watching races all day, from the junior women, the junior men, and watching these races, like someone would try to ride and someone would get off and run, and they would pass them, or they would open up a gap. So I was like, there's no point, and the sand here is so deep and it's so dry that you just have to put a ton of power down. There's no line through it. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna play this safe and just run it every lap. And I think it actually saved me energy. And it was one less match I burned every lap, and I was just able to use that once I got back on the bike. So just trying to race smarter.
Nice, thanks.
Now I remember a couple of things, over the weekend. One was, people posting videos of Strohmeyer hopping the barriers. So those are not Euro barriers at Really Rad. Those are extra large.
I don't want Adam to yell at me, but I feel like those might be a little over 40.
Those are supersize me barriers.
Yeah.
But Strohmeyer, who's not a tall guy, no issue, just getting over them.
So what he explained on these is that they are, in Tabor where there's like the hill up to the barriers.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing here, but it's not as extreme. It's just
Right.
like this little up, and then the barriers are sitting on top of it. And he's like, well, it's like a ramp.
Mm-hmm.
So if you get enough speed there, you can just sort of launch over that first one and then carry it through the second one. But it does, we like to talk about conventional wisdom. It does go against the conventional wisdom that you have this plank section followed immediately by a sand section. You're getting your gap on the planks by riding them, and then you're getting maybe another gap in the sand by running it. It's just, it just seems backwards.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny also because he did bring up the point that the sand, because it's so dry, we talked about how dusty it was, that now it kind of makes sense. Like, it's so dry. Yeah, there is no pack line. It is harder to ride through it. So it was good to hear him sort of talk about that strategy. And it's kind of just, how the weather can affect these tactics. Also live painting, pretty cool. Pretty crazy that someone can do that.
Different artists out there, different oil painting for the women and for the men. Two different artists.
Two different.
Yeah, so they were Mags got one as well, but it was completely different styles. That was kind of neat as well.
That
Cape Cod, you're gonna get some artists out there.
Plein air. How do you turn that? Someone make a Cyclocross joke about that. Okay. Cool. Got the cowboy hat. Strohmeyer having a good day on Saturday.
Yeah, just looked like he's just flying and doing Strohmeyer things. So it all turned out well. Let's check in with Eric Bruner and see how sea level's going.
Eric, looked like at the start, we've been talking about it the last couple of races. Kind of like got caught in the field there. Strohmeyer was able to get away, and you kind of spent the first half playing catch up.
Yeah, I've had a great start this year. I don't really know why. It wasn't even horrible, but Miles Mattern got around me on one of the early corners, so then I was fifth. Gap opened up a little bit. It was just pretty strung out. Strohmeyer and Miles hit it pretty hard, and I feel like I was just chasing the whole race.
Looks like you were able to close it down probably with 2 or 3 laps to go, and then it seems like he just went again at that point.
Yep, I got on his wheel mid-race, and then right around, I think after 4 laps, so just before the halfway point, he hit it again. He got about a second on the barriers, and I just didn't have the legs today. And then I was actually kind of came back again late in the race. Maybe he sat up a little bit. I think he was just feathering the gap. He probably didn't have a whole lot left to give, but neither did I, so that was about it.
Yeah, but at least looking ahead to tomorrow, we've had these conversations already this year where you're kind of like, well, I do better on day 2s, so.
Yeah, hoping for better legs tomorrow. I did feel pretty bad today. I think probably some of that was just mental and getting kind of punched in the face right at the beginning. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Awesome. We'll see you then.
Thanks.
Couldn't blame coming to sea level this week.
I guess not, but I think it's kind of funny because it's played out like this when these guys have been together, that Strohmeyer's good on day 1 and then Bruner kind of comes back on day 2. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess not to. Yeah, maybe didn't even play out that way though on day 2.
No.
So
that's not even foreshadowing.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think of. No, I don't have anything else to add to that interview.
Yeah, no, I was just saying when we look forward to day 2, it looked like it was going to play out like that. That's kind of what we were looking at from the start, but then it got all topsy-turvy. The one big story about day 1 in 3rd place was Henry Coote. If you've been following cyclocross, following mountain biking, big result for him getting onto a UCI C1 podium. But at the same time, if you're looking at the field out there, Henry is somebody who has proven himself to be one of the fastest guys out there. So I think we everybody who's been following the sport for a while knew that it was just a matter of time until he pulled off a result like this. And him and the storyline of the season is Curtis White is his coach, and him and Curtis seem to be like riding around together a lot, and Henry seems to be consistently beating him. And
so Curtis White, good coach.
Yeah, great coach.
Yeah.
He's definitely showing him what to do. But let's check in with Henry here after day one. All right, Henry. Good job out there today. Looked like kind of back in the second group for a while, sort of fighting for position, and then we're able to work yourself up. Just walk me through that race.
Yeah, I've been really working on racing patiently, trying to be as smooth as I can. So when I dropped the chain and my derailleur went in crash mode, I kind of freaked out a little bit, but then I calmed myself down and kind of regrouped and realized I didn't really lose that much time. So I was able to fight back into the front group. And when I came through, I really just tried to ride through the group. I didn't really want to bring anyone with me, so I made sure to accelerate out of the corners, and I got a little bit of a gap and I went with it. From there, I realized I might have a shot at catching up to second place, so I went for it, but it wasn't there today, and I'm hoping I can do that tomorrow.
So let's back up a little bit. What happened with the mechanical?
Yeah, so we were going through the technical section on the course right before the start straight finish, and I dropped my chain coming through a bumpy section. I think just backpedal a little, my chain came off, but I was able to fix that really quickly and get back on the group. Tried to really focus on getting in line, not really freaking out, and one by one passing when I should, not when I can. So yeah.
So tomorrow, feel comfortable that you can just stick with those leaders?
Yeah, I do. I really think I can. My training's going really well, and I think I have the form to be up there. I just need to learn how to race properly and be a little less junior racing. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's good to see you out there.
Congrats. Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah.
The less junior racing. That was my favorite part of that.
I mean, it's maturity right there. I mean, is racing age like 19?
Yep.
I mean, so he's just out of the junior races, derailleur in crash mode,
but and completely burying the lead. Like where I was like, wait, time out. I didn't know that was the reason that you were back there. Let's talk about that. And to him, it was like, whatever. My chain fell off and my bike went into crash mode, and I didn't let myself to get too worked up over it, and then just got back in there and got third place on the day. I mean, pretty darn good.
Yeah, I mean, Henry Coote. So I was just kind of looking at the results. I mean, I remember Rochester had a really good ride. He got fourth. Not too good the next day, 18th. Then track, he went sixth. Second day track, he went fourth. Really rad. He goes third, day one. So obviously a progression there with the rider. Just got to say, I believe his grandmother was very happy about wide angle podium. She sent a DM. She sent a happy DM. Like, thank you for covering my grandson. I believe it was his grandmother. So now, Henry, if I ever meet you in person, like that's just going to be the memory. Like you are, your grandmother DM'd that, so like that's, I have that association. Good kid, good grandson, out there racing his heart out. But yeah,
anybody who's looked at the results, Boedi, there's no like spoiler here.
Right,
when we get to day two.
There's no spoiler. We already know that Henry wins day two, like crazy. Wow.
Yeah. Just such a just a wild day on day two. Just finishing up day one. Curtis finishes fourth. Dylan Zakrajcek finished fifth. Dylan, I mean, he likes really rad. He does well here.
That's true.
Yeah, and I mean, on down from there, we get to day two. Let's just get into
let's get to day two because, okay, let's set the scene. I'm at home. I've done some yard work. I pop open the laptop. Did I text you? Was I texting you, or was I like, no, I was in the bulletin Slack, but I'm like, what is going on here? Because when did I tune in? Okay. So yeah, I tuned in and we had Coote and White, off the front.
And when you say tuned in, just so people are like, wait a second, Boedi said he tuned in. Where was he watching this? Well, you're doing the thing. You're just doing the nerd thing where you're tuning into the live timing.
I'm looking at the live, literally watching the lap times stroll across the screen. And I'm like, whoa, Henry Coote and Curtis White have a gap. It was like 30 or 40 seconds on Bruner and Strohmeyer. And I'm like, now that is really interesting. What was going on, Bill, at that point? Like, how did that set up? How did that play out?
So the same thing. We had our preem in the beginning of the race, and they were all racing for it. And, again, we got our sprint, and it kind of played out, one of two ways you would think it would play it out, but it was actually Bruner. And I think it was Magley was talking about the sandy section. So the course, but I think what they're talking about are those, it's kind of that wooded serpentine section before you make the right turn and go for home. You go through the woods. And it's like pretty. Yep. It's really loose through there.
Yeah, I know exactly
that's where Henry said that he, dropped his chain on day one. So it's kind of like that's the sprint before the sprint. You want to get through there. You want to be able to push through. Attack out of all those corners, like everybody's been saying in those interviews. Defend well, not let anybody pass you, and if you hit the tarmac first, you can usually finish off the sprint. Bruner led. Bruner, was able to get into that section first, was able to lead the field, was able to accelerate through those corners, make the turn, come through, get the $100. He's got Strohmeyer, a second or two back, and then I believe it was Henry and Curtis and just kind of the rest of the field trying to gain time and get back up to them. When it got back together, you had Strohmeyer, Bruner, White, and Coote as your lead group. Couple laps into the race, innocuous part of the course, there's a little kind of dirt grass to tarmac transition, a little sand in that corner. And Strohmeyer just gets it wrong, and just slides out on there and goes down. And Bruner is able to take advantage of that, gets out. Coote and White are chasing. And then, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to catch up with Eric after the race. Not sure he really, maybe he was happy about that. He didn't have to talk about day two. But I'd like to know if there was a mechanical or anything, or just, he was saying he wasn't feeling great on day one. He just faded on day two. And he just, and White and Coote were able to catch him. They just looked so much fresher. Eric just didn't look like he was on a very good day. Please correct me if I'm wrong on that, Eric, if something else happened out there. But yeah, and Henry and Curtis took advantage of that. We're able to go to the front, and once they kind of saw blood in the water, both of them just took off together, and I think raced without attacking each other for the majority of the second half of the race. And then you could just kind of tell in those last couple laps that Henry was just that much stronger, and eventually he was able to get out there in front and just surge ahead and take a solo win. Just amazing, impressive win.
Yeah, I mean that was exciting. Just like I said, tuning in on the lap times, and you saw, I think Henry maybe second to last lap or last lap put in the fastest lap of the day. It was like at 6:58 or 30. I don't know exactly what it was, but like you said, you could like the freshness that he had a little more, and that they were riding so much faster than Bruner was and Strohmeyer when he was there. Because I saw, actually, I'm now remembering the Dirt Wire highlights. Yeah, he shows Strohmeyer's first crash, but then Strohmeyer gets back in the race for a few more laps, it sounds like, and then pulls the plug. What happened? Did he realize he was hurt more, or?
I don't think he's injured. I think he was just done for the day, and has, Pan Am's coming up, and just kind of packing in now to fight for another day.
Yeah. I mean, I see it. Yeah, sometimes it's already gone, right? It's.
Yeah, and he wasn't. He was. If you look at his lap times, he was making up no time to try to get back onto those leaders. And he wasn't doing the times he was doing, but what you were saying, you look at Brunner when he kind of went for it in the beginning of that race, he put in a 6:42 lap. That's your national champion. That's like a super fast time on it, fastest lap of the day to that point. On lap 8 of 9, could put in a 6:40, and that was your fastest lap.
He put in a 6:38 lap 7.
6:38 lap 7. You're right.
Yeah.
So he got under that 6:40 mark, which is pretty darn
Ripping.
good.
I mean,
Curtis
White,
with a 6:39 there too.
exactly.
So he was. I think we haven't seen old Curtis White for years past. Maybe we have seen older Curtis White.
Don't say old. It's
that was
veteran,
the wrong word to use.
Experienced Curtis White.
But I think that we saw a proud Curtis White there in that I'm not letting this kid get out, and he put in a really fast lap that I think a lot was a part of that was not wanting Henry to beat him.
Yeah, I mean, so many goods, like so many narratives that we've been following happened on day 2 really read, right? You have Curtis White, not a good start, sick in the summer, not the results he wants, but there is a level progression up. Then you have the coach and the pupil, mentee, mentor relationship, and then they have been sort of battling farther back in the field, and now all of a sudden they're at the front of the field. I mean, that's cool. And then you bring up the point that they weren't attacking each other. Like they're like let's call a truce right now, and we'll put in really good times together. We have Strohmeyer, who has another day 2, another weekend where he's winning it. Okay, he sometimes would get second, but he DNF. Like that was, he had a win, really good, strong day on Saturday, not a good day on Sunday. Brunner, who was taking that mantle when Strohmeyer wasn't, came out with, no wins this weekend. And saying to you, not feeling good. So yeah, a lot of narratives playing out here, and that kind of makes Pan Am's.
Right. And we got Scott
open.
Funston just sitting at home.
That's
just
right.
kind of like
happy fun ball.
Yep. Just kind of putting his hands together, rubbing his hands together, just waiting. He's, you got both your favorites who definitely faltered.
Do you think he's recovered from Scott Meagle's wedding?
Let's hope so.
Yeah.
He's young. Of course he has. Yeah, but one of the things that what we saw earlier in the season was Henry and Curtis like riding around together a lot, and I asked Henry about it because it looked, again, this goes back to the interpreting what's happening from the outside and what's actually happening on the inside of the tape. But I asked Henry about if he was in those earlier races just more complacent to follow Curtis, who is his coach, who is this, former national champion, and thinking that's the wheel I need to be on, and now kind of getting to a place where he's like, maybe I can move ahead of this and be up in the front of the, further up in the front of the races. So yeah, let's talk to Henry on day 2. All right, Henry, first off, congrats. That's huge win. Just your initial thoughts. What's going through your head right now after finishing?
Yeah, I'm really happy with that. Kind of been working on being patient on the bike, like I said yesterday, and today I really put that to work. I had a great start today. I was in the front group early on, which doesn't really happen for me often, but I found myself there, and then Andrew made a mistake, and it kind of pushed Brunner off the front. Kind of stayed calm and tried to ride the group up to him, and once I got to him, he fell back, and I was with Curtis, and I kind of just rode the race and let it come at me, and then when I got a gap, I went with it and held it to the finish. So I was really happy with that.
Did you see what happened with Andrew?
Yeah, it was a corner of sand, kind of awkward. We finished the corner on a sidewalk, and I think there was just some sand on it, and he went down. I went over the bars when I went over his bike, but I quickly regrouped and got back on the bike.
So once you're up there, you're riding with Curtis. We've seen this, throughout the season, you and Curtis seem to be like hooking
Yeah.
up together. Bill likes to point out on the microphone how he's your coach.
Yeah.
And like earlier in the season, and this is just me from the outside looking at it, looked like you were more content just to hang with Curtis and not necessarily pass him. It looks like today you had a plan to actually attack and go.
Yeah, I knew from yesterday. I looked at the lap times. I knew I had the ability to race off the front and go for the win. And today I knew I had to be able to do that, so I went for that.
Excellent. So I mean, just confidence-wise, just in cross. I mean, are you going to Pan Am's?
Yeah, I'm going racing next week in the U23 category.
U23. All right. Yeah. Well, you got to be feeling good going in there. You got Ian Ackert, right?
Yeah, it's a big goal of mine. I'm working at it. It'd be really great to be able to get the win there. But, Tibor Del Grosso always says one result doesn't determine your career, whether it's a win or a loss. So I'm just going to go into that with the most preparation I can.
Awesome. Well, it's great to see you racing cross, and good luck next week.
Thank you.
Quote
a man after your own heart there.
Yeah. I'm sure I think he's probably just a year younger than Tibor or so, or maybe 2 years. So I feel like that to me, like listening to an interview, I'm like, oh, Henry is like serious. I mean, they're all serious about cross, but like he seems like a student. Like he's like into it. He's like, what are these guys just above me? What are they doing? I need to be doing what they're doing. And good on him. Congrats to Henry. Like I said, fun to see that progression through the season, and this is the payoff to that storyline.
So here's something that, again, in that interview, if you go back to like the day before, where kind of just nonchalantly talking about his chain dropping and going into crash mode and having to fight through that. He went over his bars when Strohmeyer, like I didn't even catch that the first time when I was talking to him. And it's like not even, it was just like a almost a side note to what he was talking about, he just stayed patient, got back on and did it. It's like just so nonchalant about that, which I think is so cool, because he's not, that's an excuse. That's a reason why I wasn't able to do whatever, or that's, I was able to overcome this and still win. For him, it's just like, it happened. I got back on my bike and stayed, calm and just kept going, which is just pretty wild.
I mean, that's he shut down your elite race pushing. Really, he knew what was coming. He said, "Nope, U23. Don't even try it, Bill. I'm not going to the elites. I'm gonna grab a jersey, or I'm gonna try and grab a jersey." I'm
fine with him where he is, especially since we gotta have somebody fighting Ackert in that Pan Am race. So you gotta put the players where they're best suited.
The United Statesians, we need a good, someone good. Yeah, Henry State, we need you. Battle them for us. Beat those crazy Canadians.
All right, we talked about Curtis and the sort of the coaching aspect and just racing against Henry, but also racing at the front of the race again. So, and I don't know. I seem to be using progression a lot for as a term here, but I think even for Curtis, we talked about him, and that's kind of been a theme with him as well after that bout of pneumonia and everything else. And this is just one more positive step towards getting to the front of racing again. But yeah, let's listen to Curtis just about being up there fighting for the win, but also being able to race against his coaching client.
All right, Curtis, first off, I mean, you've done so well with this course in the past, kind of like almost home course for you. I know there are other ones, but just tell me about racing here and also having that great result today.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the New England cyclocross scene. It always means a lot to race here, and it does feel like a home race. We've talked a little bit about kind of the progression this year and how it's kind of been trending upwards. It's been a lot of work to get to this point, but it all kind of came together today. Early on, there was kind of some chaos in the race. Eric started he put on some pressure. Strohmeyer was he was following, and then he fell on kind of a seemingly non-consequential corner on the backside, maybe a lack of concentration, or I don't know what, but that caused a separation. I got around, and then Henry and I passed Brunner and just continued the pressure, and then a gap opened, and there was never a point that we eased up or stopped, and in the closing laps, he just had a little bit more in the tank than I did.
Yeah, so, one of the storylines that it has been great just to follow with Henry coming onto the scene. He's one of your coaching clients, and you guys are riding together. I think earlier in the season, when I was talking to him, it looked like to me that he was kind of like complacent to be on your wheel. And in the last couple races and today, it seems like he was able to put in that extra effort.
Yeah, well, I mean, rewind to the beginning of the season, the piece that you sent out, I think my response was watch out for Henry Coote. Yeah. And, I knew that he has a lot of potential, and he was at a high level through the summer racing mountain bike. And then, I think as he races more on the cross scene, he's gaining confidence. And to win his first year under 23 at a field like this is huge for him. So I think he's going to continue to get more confidence and to raise his level. And it was really, really special for me to see. And I mean, I don't like losing, but if there's anyone I had to lose to, I'm really, really happy to see him win.
Yeah, with that in mind, and you're right, we have been talking about this progression. So this is kind of like almost, coming to the end of the domestic season. I don't know if you're doing any of the other C2s out there. Are you going to Pan Ams?
Pan Ams, yes.
Okay.
Georgia and Hendersonville are question marks. I have to see where I'm at. I think a break could be nice to return to some training. I feel like I've been able to train through a lot of the races up to this point. A big part, the season for me has been not to lose too many points and still have good ranking. So I just need to kind of weigh what the best prep is and how do I keep my ranking. But after nationals, Europe is definitely a goal as well. So there's still plenty left of the season, just not as much of domestic.
I guess what I was leading to, just with that progression and coming into form, it seems like nationals is kind of coming at a good time for you.
It very well could. I have full belief in myself that it's, Stars and Stripes is still potentially there. And I do think the progression's there for that. So we'll just have to wait and see, and I'll do what I can. Just, what I've been doing every day. Just keep showing up, and we'll see what I can do.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Good to hear from Curtis after that race. I know he got on the podium at was it Cincy? Right? Did he podium in Cincy, or did he podium at? Sorry, we're gonna.
He did podium in Cincy, yes.
But yeah, it's just good to hear him kind of sort of feeling a little bit better about what he's doing, and like you said, the progression. So it was interesting though to hear him talk about his ranking and how maybe he would do North Carolina or Georgia. I'm assuming to keep his UCI points higher, or he's probably missed out of some by not finishing as high. So is he trying to keep that ranking when he goes over to Europe? Is that sort of just be higher call up there? Or I feel like he's front row at nationals. Like,
yeah, I guess so. And I'm curious about that as well, because you're right. He's going to be fine for nationals. And then I know I'm pretty sure they're going to Dublin, but that's a whole different ranking system, right? That's World Cup. So that doesn't
well, first World Cup, is that based on?
But first World Cup will be Antwerp.
Oh, okay. So so doesn't it go World Cup standings, and then so then it goes like UCI, I believe.
Yeah. So right, it's still important, but not. Yeah, the World Cup. Yeah, always important to have those points and that ranking. But I think that's right. Just not getting stuck too far in the back when he's
right. I guess it is
European races.
Yeah, it's rolling, right? So you keep it going. You don't want to have too big of a gap, because come around next year you want to be ranked as high as possible. So just because I'm just curious, Curtis White is 4th ranked American man. I don't know if this has been updated since. No, they probably haven't been updated yet. But anyway,
yeah, it's also important for Worlds. That the ranking in the world actually has is a factor in who's going to the World Championship. So that's important as well.
Oh, that's right.
We have Pan Am's coming up next weekend. The one interesting thing, just looking at your favorites for this, we have spent a lot of time talking about Strohmeyer on day 1 versus day 2. I can tell you this because this probably shows up on the registration, but something you may not have noticed. He's not racing Thundercross. So Pan Am's will be the day 1 race.
I was thinking, because they're doing, so Pan Am's is technically day 2 in the weekend. Was it that way
Right.
last year?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Has it always, and
it's a later race too. It's almost like a night race the night before, which is really wild to do that and then, do Pan Am's the next day.
So day 1 for Stroh, day 2 for Brunner. So maybe it'll be good for him.
Yeah. I mean, maybe, I don't know if Brunner's doing Thundercross or not. So yeah, we'll see.
How do you find the pre-reg for Pan Am's?
No idea.
On the website, I can't figure it out. It's not bike reg, folks. It's runsignup.com. A runner. Oh, that's my girlfriend.
Yeah. It's the problem. People want to give USA Cycling a hard time, but USA Cycling using bike, mandatory bike reg use makes it real easy.
Yeah.
Makes it really easy.
Pan Am's, I should dig out the DM, but I got a DM. The Wide Ankle Podium got a DM saying that live stream at Pan Am's, there was, I think it was a LinkedIn job post looking for crew to do a live stream, and I think
crew would be good.
Huh?
That would be good.
Yeah. So folks, I haven't heard anything. I think I am following the proper accounts on social media to catch that news. Maybe I missed it. So if anybody knows, look out. I know they had like a finish line cam last year. So that's not a live stream. I don't think that's what they assume that they're talking about. So hopefully that happens.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I don't know, but I hope they get that together. And I'm sure once, somebody points us in the right direction, finding the registration and all that other information will be not as hard. We don't want to ding them for anything. I'm sure the system will be fine. I did want to talk about European racing. I don't want to spend a whole time on it because we have already gone pretty long on this episode already. What do you want to do with that?
Let's just quickly say that there's a lot of racing in Europe this weekend. I think 7 races on one day, 8 on the next. I think Overijse, big story in Europe. That's the one to talk about. Women's race. Lucinda Brand takes the win, goes for sort of a mid-race attack. Femme second, Sarah Casasola third. There's a baby. To borrow a joke from Zach, there's a baby born a month ago in Netherlands wondering if Femme will ever win a race again. She's got 1 win. Alvarado's got 3. Brand's got 3 or 2. Brand's got 2. It looks a little different this year than the same time last year, which is it's great. It's great for us. It's great for the fans. Femme saying that she is goals later in the season.
Yep.
And okay, but what goals later in the season? She won Worlds last year. So what does
goal
she need?
Again?
Yeah, well, she was fine last year.
Jerseys matter.
She raced. I think she probably raced more road. So maybe there was a sort of shorter off season, not built as enough. So this is good for the fans. We are having good racing. Sarah Casasola is putting herself at the front of the races, being very aggressive, maybe a bit too aggressive sometimes. Just kind of back off a bit. Elaine Clauzel up the front, pretty far into the race. Love to see it. Over the men's side, Thibaut Nice, he's pumped over on Instagram. He's I don't want to say that. I mean, because I don't feel like we were hating, and there maybe have been some haters, but I feel like he's using that, you just kind of create the haters, and then so when you win, you can be like, look, I told you, I'm coming back. Give me 3 races, I'll sharpen up, and he's back on top. But he looked really good in Overijse.
Yeah. Are we going to get the Michael Jordan looking at an iPod meet?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm thinking about. He's making up bulletin material,
Yes.
But he looked really good. He looked really mature. He was always in control of that race, even when he had to stitch things back together. He looked like a complete rider. I was thinking this was the race where he made that last lap move. Was it with Lars? But where he slid out And we sort of like asked, like, he went aggressive there. Did he throw away that chance to win the race there? I don't know. I feel like Thibaut had such a strong road season this summer that to me there was no doubt that the fitness was there. It's just, he was sick or whatever. Like sometimes it takes time to get back into it. But
yeah, I think it's really exciting on both the women's and men's sides right now because there aren't these clear favorites that we've seen every other year. And even on the men's side, that we always talk about, the sort of the early season men's, we got Ailey out there just winning every race or whatever else before Wout or Matthew or Pidcock come back. And I guess Wout's really gearing up for cyclocross, but we'll see what that looks like. He's like singing in costumes right now. So I know that was recorded months ago.
Oh, was it? Oh,
yeah.
Okay. That's okay. Yeah. I mean, so yeah, just briefly, we talked about this in America. If you go to the Belgian races, it's nice. Yoshura, Washura, Joram Washura, Sweek, Vanternout, Lars, right? Let me just pull up Enz Adams, Lars, Ellie. So like really it's the on the men's side and the women's side. Well, the women's side is actually more like it's more spread apart on the men's side over in Europe, Belgium, Netherlands, who's winning these races. So yeah, it's good stuff. And I've been really enjoying it. And, I did see that Van der Poel is back on the bike. Apparently he raced a rally car. He was on a bike and there was a rally car and they raced each other. So I guess CX season can start? Or does this mean there's 6 more weeks of golf for him? Like, I don't know. I'm trying to read the tea leaves. Like what's going on Van der Poel?
What does that mean?
No one knows what it means. He's
I
racing
would
the
have
car.
liked what I would have liked is for them to then switch.
Yes, I love that because he probably did
the
pretty good at rally car. Right?
he's got his fast cars.
Yeah. And how is this? I don't know anything about the Spanish rally car driver. I think
a lot of them train on bikes.
That's
so
true. He
I'm
probably
sure
would be pretty good. So it would be a good race. So
yeah, I think it's gonna be really fun too this coming weekend with European Championships in Spain. We know how much the Belgian and Dutch cyclocross contingent love to travel, so that's going to be just fun to see how that all goes down. Hopefully after watching these races this weekend, especially the exact cross, that Dutch exact cross race, and seeing Philippe Orts just Leroy Jenkins it into the first turn. Hopefully they built this course for him.
Yeah. Oh man. All right. Yeah. You're up. That's right. So it's gonna be a fun weekend. We're gonna get some jerseys.
Jerseys will be championship season is upon us. We're gonna be handing out jerseys this weekend, and hopefully there's a live stream. So Boedi, you can watch along. I'll be out there in Missoula catching all the action, and we can talk about that next week.